இப்போதானே வருது. எந்த இடம் நாத்துது? உள்ள போலாமா? எது சிக்னல் இல்லை இல்ல ஆன்மோஸ்ட் சிக்னல் கிடைக்கல. இல்ல லாபம் நம்ம அதை டென்ஷன் மட்டும்ல. இன்னாகிரேஷன் யார கட்டிங்களா? இன்னாகிரேஷன் எல்இடியா? சரி சரி. எல்இடி அந்த போச்சு. அது ஆகவே இல்லை. நான் டென்ஷனில் விட்டேன்.
ஓம் ஸ்ரீ குருபியோ நமஹ. காஞ்சி மடத்தின் 70வது ஜகத்குரு சங்கர ஸ்ரீ
பகவன் முகத்தே ஒன்று. நமச்சிவாய வாழ்க, நாதந்தாள் வாழ்க, இவை பொழுதும் என் நெஞ்சில் நீங்காதான் தான் வாழ்க. நம்முடைய பிராச்சீனமான அனாதியான இந்து சமயத்தின் அருமை பெருமைகளை நாம் புரிந்து கொள்வதற்கும் அதை அனுஷ்டானம் செயல்முறையிலே கடைபிடிப்பதற்கும் நம்முடைய வேதங்களையும் சாஸ்திரங்களையும் புராணங்களையும் சாஸ்திரிய சங்கீதத்தையும் கலைகளையும் அதில் இருக்கக்கூடிய முக்கிய அம்சங்களை நாம் படித்து பார்த்து புரிந்து கொண்டு நாம் நம்முடைய கலாச்சாரத்திற்கும் தேசத்திற்கும் சேவை செய்வதற்கு நல்லதொரு வாய்ப்பாக அதற்குரிய உள்கட்டமைப்பு இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சருடன் இந்த காஞ்சிக்கு அருகாமையிலே சென்னைக்கு ஒட்டிய இந்த ராமகிரி பாக்கத்திலே நம்முடைய பெரியவர்கள் ஸ்ரீ லேந்திர சரஸ்வதி சுவாமிகளுடைய ஆசீர்வாதத்துடன் அவர்களால் அளிக்கப்பட்ட இந்த பிரதேசத்திலே விசாலமான நல்ல கட்டடங்களுடன் அழகான கட்டடங்கள் தேசபக்தியும் தெய்வபக்தியும் வேத சாஸ்திரத்தின் மீது நம்பிக்கையும் வளர்க்கக்கூடிய, அறிவையும் வளர்க்கக்கூடிய இந்த நல்ல ஒரு அமைப்பானது ஸ்ரீ காஞ்சி மகாசுவாமி வித்யா மந்திர் மும்பையில் இருக்கக்கூடிய சவுத் இந்தியன் எஜுகேஷன் சொசைட்டி மூலமாக அதற்குரிய தனியாக ஒரு ட்ரஸ்ட் என்பதை ஆரம்பித்து மகாசுவாமி வித்யா மந்திர் ட்ரஸ்ட் என்பதாக மும்பை வி சங்கர் அவர்களுடைய தலைமையிலே பெரும் முயற்சியிலே மற்றும் நண்பர்களிலே இந்த ஒரு அமைப்பானது நம்முடைய ஆர்ஷ சம்ஸ்கிருதி, நம்முடைய ரிஷிகள் வெளிவந்த தியாகம், சேவை, ஸ்ரத்தை, பக்தியுடன் கூடிய இந்த அமைப்பானது நல்ல சேவையை செய்து வருகிறது. காஞ்சி கோஷ் என்பதாக, கோஷம் என்றால் ட்ரெஷரி கோஷ், அந்த நம்முடைய கலாச்சாரம் தான் நமக்கு முக்கியமான கோஷம், ட்ரெஷரி, சொத்து. அந்த ட்ரெஷரி பாதுகாப்பதும் வளர்ப்பதும் விநியோகிப்பதும் நம்முடைய கடமையாக இருக்கிறது, நாம் பெற்ற பேராக இருக்கிறது. இந்த நல்ல வாய்ப்பினை நாம் நல்ல முறையிலே செய்து வருங்காலத்திலே நம்முடைய நாட்டிலே நம்முடைய சமய நம்பிக்கைகள், சமய பாரம்பரியத்தையும் நாம் பாதுகாக்க வேண்டும். அதே நேரத்திலே விஞ்ஞானத்திலேயும் நிர்வாகத்திலேயும் நாம் சிறந்து விளங்கி தேசத்தை முன்னேற்றம் பாதையிலே முன்னேற்றம் பெறுவதற்கு, தேசத்திற்கு முன்னேற்றம் பெறுவதற்கு நாம் பாடுபட வேண்டும். இந்த பள்ளிக்கூடத்திலே 200க்கும் அதிகமான மாணவர்கள் ஆந்திரா மற்றும் கர்நாடகம், தமிழ்நாடுகளிலே பாரம்பரியமான அவரவர்களுடைய குடும்ப வழக்கத்தின்படி அந்த வேத அத்தியனமும் செய்து கொண்டு நூத்தனமான புதுமையான இந்த CBSE எஜுகேஷனையும் படித்து வருகிறார்கள். ஏற்கனவே அங்கு நல்ல பல கண்காட்சி அமைந்திருக்கிறது. தற்போது காஞ்சி கோஷ் என்பதாக மிகப்பெரிய செலவிலே பல கோடி அதற்காக செலவழித்து தனி கவனம் செலுத்தி வி சங்கர் அவர்களுடைய பெரும் முயற்சியிலே இதை குறுகிய காலத்திலே அழகான முறையிலே அந்த நிரந்தர கண்காட்சியை காஞ்சிபுரத்தினுடைய நிறுவனம் பகவத்பாத ஆதிசங்கரை தொடங்கி நம்முடைய பெரியவர்கள், நம்முடைய பெரியவர்கள், அனைத்து ஆச்சாரியர்களுடைய வரலாறு, அவர்கள் உலகத்திற்காக அளித்த தர்ம காரியங்கள், இவைகளை பற்றி ஒரு இடத்திலே நிறைய விஷயங்களை, நல்ல கருத்துக்களை தெரிவிக்கக்கூடிய விதத்திலே நல்ல முறையிலே இந்த காஞ்சி கோஷ் என்கிற இந்த கண்காட்சியை ஜூன் 4ஆம் தேதி தற்போது தமிழகத்திற்கு ஆளுநராக இருக்கக்கூடிய ரவி அவர்கள் திறந்து வைக்க இருக்கிறார்கள். அந்த நிகழ்ச்சியிலே கஸ்தூரி ரங்கன் விஞ்ஞானி அவர்களும் கலந்து கொள்ள இருக்கிறார்கள். இந்த ராஜகீழ்பாக்கம் தாம்பரம் காஞ்சி மகாசுவாமி வித்யா மந்திரிலே நடக்கக்கூடிய இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியின் மூலமாக நம்முடைய பாரத தேசத்தின், குறிப்பாக தமிழகத்தின் புராதனமான பாரம்பரியமான நம்முடைய மொழி, கலாச்சாரம், பாரம்பரியத்தை மீட்டெடுக்கக்கூடிய, மறுபடியும் வளர்க்க செய்யக்கூடிய இந்த முயற்சி பலருடைய ஒத்துழைப்புடன் மேன்மேலும் வளர்ந்து நம்முடைய பெருமையை உணர்வது என்பது ஒன்று, நாம் உணர்வது என்பது நாம் முதலிலே செய்ய வேண்டியது. அப்படி நம்முடைய பாரம்பரியத்தினுடைய பெருமையை நம்முடைய அன்பர்கள் பக்தர்கள் அவரவர்கள் குடும்பத்திலே அதை செயல்படுத்துவதன் மூலமாக நல்ல ஆன்மீக சமுதாயம். தமிழகம் என்பது தர்மத்தினுடைய பூமி, சாஸ்திரங்களுடைய பூமி, புராண பிரசித்தி பெற்ற ஸ்தலங்களின் பூமி, ஸ்தல விருட்சங்களின் பூமி, பல்வேறு புஷ்கரணிகளின் பூமி, பல கோபுரங்களின் பூமி, பல மண்டபங்களின் பூமி, பல சத்திரங்களின் பூமி, பல கல்விச்சாலைகளின் பூமி, 64 கலைகளின் பூமி, நமக்கு வளர்த்து வளர்த்த காஞ்சி காமாட்சி அம்மனின் பூமி, அறம் வளர்த்த நாயகி என்று தர்ம சம்பர்த்தனை என்று அந்த காஞ்சி காமாட்சி அம்மனை நாம் போற்றுகிறோம். இப்படி உத்தமமான வரலாற்றினை, உண்மையான வரலாற்றினை, உதவக்கூடிய வரலாற்றினை மறுபடியும் படைக்கக்கூடிய இந்த ஒரு முயற்சி பலவழித்து அதன் மூலம் உலகத்திலே சுபிட்சம், சாந்தி, வளர்ச்சி ஏற்பட்டு அந்த பஞ்சபூத ஸ்தலங்களில் 4 ஸ்தலங்கள் தமிழகத்திலே இருக்கின்றன. அறுபடை வீடு இருக்கிறது. ஆழ்வார்களும் நாயன்மார்களும் சஞ்சாரம் செய்த பூமி, பாடல் பெற்ற பூமி, மிக பிரபந்தம் பாசுரங்கள் பாடக்கூடிய பூமி, மும்மூர்த்திகள், சங்கீத மும்மூர்த்திகள் வாழ்ந்த பூமி, தியாகராஜ சுவாமி, சியாமா சாஸ்திரி, முத்துசுவாமி தீட்சிதர், இப்படி பல்வேறு கலைகளின் மூலமாக தெருக்கூத்திலிருந்து ஆரம்பித்து பொம்மலாட்டம், இப்படி பல கலைகள் மூலமாக அழகான முறையிலே, ஆக்கர்ஷிக்கும் முறையிலே, அமைதியான முறையிலே இறைவனுடைய அனுகிரகம் மக்களுக்கு சேரும் விதத்திலே பல்வேறு வழிமுறைகளை கையாண்டு தர்மத்தை பாதுகாக்கக்கூடிய பூமியாக விளங்கக்கூடிய இந்த தமிழகத்திலே நம்முடைய புராதனமான உயர்ந்த பாரம்பரியத்தை மறுபடியும் நாம் சிந்திக்கக்கூடிய, நாம் படிக்கக்கூடிய, நாம் உணரக்கூடிய, நாம் செய்யக்கூடிய பாரம்பரியத்திற்கு சேவை செய்யக்கூடிய அமைப்பாக இது போன்ற அமைப்புகள் பல ஏற்பட்டு அதன் மூலம் நாம் புதுமையை படைத்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். பழைய கலாச்சாரத்தை பாதுகாப்பதிலேயே நாம் நம்முடைய பங்களிப்பை அளித்து அதன் மூலம் மன நிறைவு பெற்று நாம் புண்ணியத்தையும் புகழையும் பெறும் விதத்திலே அந்த குரு பரம்பரையினுடைய ஆசீர்வாதத்தின் காரணமாக, அனுகிரகத்தின் காரணமாக பல்வேறு சித்தர்கள் வாழ்ந்த பூமியான இந்த தமிழகத்திலே அழகான காட்சி புகழாக வாழ்ந்தது அன்னை காமாட்சி உமையே என்கிற அந்த அறம் வளர்த்த நாயகியின் அருளாலே மேன்மேலும் தர்மத்திற்கு சேவை செய்யக்கூடிய வாய்ப்பை பெற்று, அனுகிரகத்தை பெற்று, ஆசீர்வாதங்களை பெற்று இந்த ஒரு சேவையானது வளர்ந்து அதன் மூலம் அனைவருக்கும் திருப்தியும், சுபிட்சமும், சாந்தியும் கிடைப்பதற்கு அன்னை காமாட்சி அம்மனை பிரார்த்திப்போம். ஹரஹர சங்கர, ஜெய ஜெய சங்கர.
Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. With humble salutations to our lineage of great gurus, I welcome you all to the inauguration of Kanchi Kosh, a permanent exhibition on 2,500 glorious years of history of Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam. The program will commence with the national anthem, followed by the Tamil Thai Varthu. I request the audience to please rise up for the national anthem and the Tamil Thai Varthu.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்த கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதிசிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிரிநுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற ஏத்திசையும் புகழ் வணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உம் சீரிழமை திரும்பி என்று செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Good evening to all dignitaries, guests, and delegates. I feel privileged to welcome the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, His Excellency Thiru R.N. Ravi, the First Lady of the State, Srimati Lakshmi Ravi, Padma Vibhushan Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, our respected Chairman Dr. V. Shankar, and the Board of Trustees of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Trust. With great joy and immense exultation, I welcome you all to the Kanchi Kosh inauguration function. Welcome, sir. I extend a warm welcome to everyone seated here on behalf of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Vidya Mandir, the largest Vedic modern educational institution, not just in India, but the world as well. Kanchi Kosh. Kosh. The word Kosh means a repository, a treasure, a kalanjiam. Kanchi Kosh is a repository of the history of Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam. The venerated Peetam, established by Adi Shankara, who adorned it as the first Shankaracharya, has seen an unbroken lineage of 70 distinguished Peedadipatис in the last 2,500 years. A step into this exhibition will mesmerize and transform us. This treasure will help us seek divine intervention in our life in order to shield us from invisible complexities and adversities. With spiritual advancement, we can experience all-round perceptual changes in us. Indeed, this exhibition is a treasure. The Kanchi Kosh is a treasure. Shariram surupam tatava kalatram yasascharu chitram dhanam meru thulyam manaschena lagnam guru rangri padme tathakim 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 tathakim. This is a verse from the Guru Ashtagam by Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya. It says, one physic may be good, one's concert likewise, one's reputation resplendent and renowned, and one's riches as high as Mount Meru. Yet, if one's mind not be centered upon the lotus feet of the Guru, what then, what then? Tathakim, tathakim. Such is the greatness of Guru. They are the light in the dark, an inspiration and an aspiration. Once again, with humble citations to our Gurus of Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam, I now call upon our Veda Vidyatis for the Vedic recitation. I request the audience to please stand up for the Vedic recitation.
स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ
Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Trust took a significant step in 2010 towards regaining India's rich culture, heritage, and wealth of knowledge. Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Vidya Mandir is a bold experimentation to demonstrate that the study of Vedas and pursuit of secular education need not be in conflict. Its effort in this field of high endeavor is to teach our children the true meaning of education and help them understand that education is not merely a means to earn a living in order to survive, but much beyond that, to realize the purpose of human birth. The mentor for this bold experimentation is our respected chairman, Dr. V. Shankar. I humbly request, sir, to welcome the dignitaries and the audience.
गोविंद देशिकम उपास्य शिराय भक्त्याम तस्मिन् स्थिते निजमाहिं निविदेह मुक्त्याम अद्वैत्य भाष्यम उपकल्प दिशो विजीत्याम कांचीपुरे स्थितम अवापसा शंकराय ऋतिस्मृति पुराणानाम आलयम करुणालयम नमामि भगवत्पाद शंकरम लोकशंकरम अपार करुणा सिंधुम ज्ञानतम शांतरूपिणम श्रीचंद्रशेखर गुरुम प्रणमामि मुदांहम सदाशिव समारंभाम शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम अस्मदाचार्य पर्यंताम वंदे गुरु परंपराम. Seeking the benediction of Adi Shankaracharya and to his lineage up to the 70th Guru, the venerated Kamakoti Peetam, Puja Sri Shankar Vijayendra Saraswati Swamigal, I bow to them as I commence my address today. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this pleasant and solemn function organized this evening to commemorate the inauguration of the permanent exhibition Kanchi Kosh, covering the 2,500 glorious years in the history of the revered Kamakoti Peetam. On the 4th of June 2010, Their Holiness Puji Sri Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal and Shankar Vijayendra Saraswati Swamigal came to this campus for the first time and inaugurated the Veda Pathashala, which was ready by that time. In later years, the Veda Pathashala was rechristened as Dr. L. M. Singhi Veda Vidyalaya. On the 16th of March 2011, nearly a year thereafter, the sages again came to the campus, dedicated all the facilities that were created by then, blessed our initiatives, and signaled the commencement of fulfillment of one of the ardent desires of the Mahaswami of Kanchi to transform and reform the Indian education system, to bring back its pristine glory and purpose. This Vidya Mandir is just not dual education. It's far beyond that. It's a shining example of an institution that promotes, perpetuates the precepts, the philosophies, and the thoughts of the Mahaswami of Kanchi, so well delivered over a century-long sojourn in this universe. On the 21st of January 2020, just before the onset of the pandemic, the Sarasangachalak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Sri Mohan Bhagat ji, came and inaugurated the permanent exhibition on the Mahaswami of Kanchi, Anugraha Varsha, Eternal Bliss. The journey of sustaining and promoting Sanatana Dharma and the true traditions of this land commenced with that. On the Vaishakha Shukla Panchami day, in the full moon day of the Kali Shaka of the year Siddharthi, corresponding to the year 482 BC, Adi Shankara founded the Kamakoti Peetam and ascended the Peetam through a Sarvagya Peetam as the first Peetathapati of this Peetam. Over the 2,504 years of his glorious history, there have been successive acharyas in the lineage of the Guru Parampara, men of great learning, erudition and scholarship, people who have stamped infinity on the thought and process of this nation and added to the reservoir of goodness of this blessed land, people who have elevated the thought process of this nation and had been at the center stage of both the spiritual and the cultural renaissance of this country. people who had guided, blessed the people over these years. To the young generation of today, which has been rooted far away from the culture of this blessed land of ours, it was time that we reiterate, repeat, and reinforce in them the glory of this great land of ours. Unfortunately, our education system till today has not been equal to the task. There is therefore need for museums, exhibitions, and effective use of the digital media to reach the young population. The purpose of a museum is to collect, preserve, promote, and interpret the artifacts that are being placed there and the various items of social, cultural, and scientific value for public education. Exhibitions serve the same purpose, sans preservation and interpretation. In Kanchi Kosh A attempted a mix of both the museum and the exhibition to increase and enhance the experiential value and retain what is being seen over there, and more importantly, sustain in young minds at the end of the journey of this exhibition the greatness of this land of ours. The greatest lesson from history is that we do not learn from history, said Aldous Huxley, and it's absolutely true. We haven't learned from the ancient history of this great land of ours, much less from the alien rule that was there for 240 years. To those of us who are credited with a reasonable knowledge of English history, it was Lord Macaulay who had thrust onto this country the English education system in the country. On the 2nd of February 1835, the Lord, while introducing in the House of Commons the India Education Bill of 1935, said, "I have travelled through the length and breadth of India. I haven't seen a single thief. I haven't seen people of low values, people of very high caliber, high morals. I don't think we can ever capture this country unless we break the backbone of this country, namely its spiritual and cultural heritage, and I therefore propose that we replace the ancient education system of India with that of ours. For if Indians were to believe all that is English and foreign is good and greater than theirs, they will lose their native intelligence and they shall become subservient to the dominance of our state." And that was the purpose for which the Lord introduced the India Education Bill of 1835. Our efforts in restoring and regaining the pristine purity of the education of this land is a small correction to that distortion that was brought about by the English system of education that was brought into this country. In this combination of education, which is modern as well as this thing, we have ensured that the best of the worlds are given to the children, that they have the tradition of this land of ours, and equally so, the modern advances in science and technology and in all other social, religious cultures of the blessed world of ours for their great knowledge. In the year 2011, when we commenced this journey, most of the people had dismissed the effort as something which is not going to yield the results. The pundits said that it is difficult that you replace the English education system, which has taken deep roots in this country, with pristine purity of the culture of this land. Soon they realized that all they said are things of the past, and the experiment that is being done over here of combining modernity with the tradition and bringing the greatness of this land espoused through the medium of education becomes a reality. And over these 10 years, countless number of students have passed out of the portals of this institution. The fact that there has not been a single failure of either the Vedic students or the day scholars in the CBSE examinations of either the 10th standard or the 12th standard is adequate testimony to the fact that the system of education that we are imparting in this campus has borne enough fruits, and the children who have passed out of the portals of this institution become ambassadors of the culture of this great land of ours. On a general occasion like this, I would have traveled much ahead to take you through the glory of the educational system of ancient India. But today, with paucity of time being over there, I would confine myself to say that the experimentation of combining modernity with the tradition is bearing fruits. And I have seen that this has become an inspiration for several institutions across the country, if not in the size and the form in which it is being done over here, at least a miniature of this to bring home the greatness and the glory of this great civilization of ours. The modern education policy that had been in vogue for several years has now been replaced by the national education policy. The architect is present over here. Dr. Kasturi Rangan and his team of people have labored to give to this country a system of education that harnesses the greatness and the glory and the culture of this land and the scientific advancement that the world has seen. And it's a beautiful mix, holistic mix of culture, science and technology that is contemporary to be unfolded for the student community once the national education policy is implemented in letter and spirit. We should be beholden to this committee and the government of India for having taken bold steps to radically change the education system in this country and bring back the pristine glory of this blessed land of ours, interwoven with the happenings in the world and the greatness of science in harnessing human necessities. And I'm sure in the years ahead, when the policy gets unfolded in letter and spirit and gets implemented across the country, the glory of this great culture of ours, that great virasat of this blessed land of ours will be felt by the entire world. And soon we will realize that the education that we offer here is contemporary, modern, as well is of the glorious past, not only of this country, but the culture of the world. This mix of what is offered of modernity and tradition is the hallmark of institutions like this. And these are the torchbearers for the citizens of this country as they harness the best of all the worlds for them. We are grateful to the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu for his gracious presence along with his family in today's function. We are deeply beholden to him for having brought before our children the experience of statesmen, administrators who shape the destiny of this nation, to inspire these young minds to believe that this country can go places, soon shall find its rightful place amongst the comity of nations. We are thankful to you, sir, for your graceful presence at today's function. We are beholden to Padma Vibhushan Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan for his gracious presence this evening. The architect of the national education policy, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, embraces in himself a scientist, a space scientist, one who had a legislative career as a member of the parliament, and more importantly, had contributed to the education of this land, making it contemporary and modern, as well as not losing the culture of this land. I'm sure the efforts of Dr. Kasturi Rangan and his team in formulating the national education policy will bear fruits, and soon we will realize the glory of this great land of ours as far as education is concerned. The glory of this land cannot but be captured in museums, exhibitions, or smaller facets of life that become glimpses of the glory of this great land of ours. It is the system of education of this land which will revisit the greatness of this land and its advancement even in science and technology in old Vedic period till this period where it has been modernized and contemporized to the world standards and needs. These can all be brought out only by the culture of the land. And I'm sure institutions like this, small as they are, but they are the harbingers, they are the pilots, they are the catalysts to ensure a radical reform in the education system in the country, which beyond getting employment for these people will have man-making character formation that will make them great citizens, not only of this country, but also of the world. As I come to the end of my address this evening, may the Jagannathu Kamakoti Kamakshi shed her grace on all of us. May she enable us to realize the purposes of her life. May the Jagannatha bless us too, so that we shall be able to take this nation to its rightful place amongst the community of nations. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, sir. You inculcated a spirit of pride in each one of us today with your speech on the greatness of this land. Our Vidyathis have proved that the experimentation of combining tradition with modern education is a reality. We are sure that this mix of modernity and tradition will equip the young minds here to face the challenges of the world. I now request our respected chairman to honor the dignitaries. Honors to the Governor of Tamil Nadu, His Excellency Thiru R.N. Ravi. Sir's presence has added radiance to our portal. We are privileged by your presence, sir. Honors to Padma Vibhushan Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, former chairman ISRO, former chairman National Education Policy Committee and chairman of the National Steering Committee for National Curriculum Framework. Your presence is an inspiration to all of us here, sir. Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturi Rangan is an eminent space scientist and educationist. Sir has steered the Indian space program gloriously as chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization. Under his leadership, the space program has witnessed several major milestones. His efforts has placed India as a preeminent spacefaring nation. Not only this, he is the brain behind the new education policy. On one of his addresses to the students, he said, "Face the challenges as the heart of challenges are the opportunities. What looks like impossible at first becomes possible with self-confidence." Sir, we are honored by your presence. I humbly request you to address the gathering.
Your Excellency, Sri R.N. Ravi, Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, my long-term colleague, friend, well-wisher and whatnot, Dr. Shankar, Mrs. Raviji, the Lakshmi Raviji, the family of Mr. Ravi, all the esteemed guests who are present here, the students who are there, I see at the back, and ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me say how touched I am, Dr. Shankar, for giving me this privilege of being with all of you today evening on this very august occasion, a divine occasion, that of the Kanchi Kosh being inaugurated by none other than the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, in whose hands certainly this particular exhibition in the years to come will fulfill all its goals and even more. So wish the very best for this. I would like to say a few words about my friend Dr. Shankar. This is an occasion where I can say this because it's an occasion where we celebrate a very important event of a 2,500-year course of a journey of one of the locations of Sri Shankaracharya, and which has been taken through in a kind of a exciting trip just now by Dr. Shankar, a memorable one. I ample scope for ideas and ideas to keep flowing into the knowledge domain for the humans to assimilate. And on the other side, you have also the question of a variety of things, the dimensions in which they represent certainly outstrips what we now look at as an awesome knowledge body system today across the world on various aspects of science, technology, and whatnot. So that is what it is. So obviously that is one area that can be tapped and if possible integrated. And if we try to integrate, one of the things about Vedas is that it has withstood the test of time. Even if I don't know whether I'm wrong when I say 5,000 years kind of a timeline for the Vedas. It has, of course, initially was being given from father to son and so on, generation to generation. Orally, it was transmitted. In between 4,000 also, but later on in the colonization, as Dr. Shankar rightly said, we lost the connection with our past. The present system is trying to revive that past, which is so not only glorious, which is not only something which can be very proud of, but most importantly, from a national education policy point of view, there is much to be integrated from that into the modern system. And I will only quote one example. We went into the details of the undergraduate education and also to some extent the school education. We looked at the adequacy of the kind of silos in which we study. Some youngsters study physics, chemistry, biology, zoology, sociology, economics, but do it in silos. And you come out and you are job ready on the day one. Is that what the mission for the life is, or the education is concerned? We debated, I should say, on this several hours, sitting day and night, on how do we try to bring in a kind of holisticity, which is where you try to create an individual with a broad outlook, a large domain knowledge, and also broader knowledge with respect to many other subjects, and also to create a total person with respect to the ability to look at a particular problem, not only within the domain of that particular subject, but also to look at it with all the, it is becoming more and more common nowadays. You call this in the space area as a system engineering. But this is now, today that is called as a liberal education. And we say the liberal arts education is the one in which you try to integrate the knowledge from several areas, whether it is science, technology, sociology, social sciences, and many other areas of the knowledges that you are familiar with. You try to bring humanities and so on. And you try to at least have an earlier orientation towards this on one side. Try to understand our country, the constitution and all the rest of it. Questions of being a responsible citizen, understanding the laws and regulations of this country. So several of these elements we need to bring into it. And if we want to integrate this at least in the undergraduate level and later part of the school education, we need to have this idea of a liberal education. And you now look back, 14,000 years ago, Adambari said 64 kalas that is there, which include science, technology, arts, crafts, music, sports, and whatnot. They have to be mastered, and you have to have those 64 kalas to be mastered. Then only you become a total person, a person with a full knowledge. Now, rewind back and get back to the present situation. Get back to the present situation. You have a system now we have recommended and which is being seriously pursued, and I am saying this with the coming to the next thing, which is regarding this experiment that Dr. Shankar is involved with, and that is the fact that we will introduce liberal arts education. Our undergraduate education will be substantially multidisciplinary and holistic, and by the time you graduate with a 4-year degree, you certainly will have the ability to understand problems with different perspectives, which will help you to solve that particular problem, not only from your point of view, but from the persons with whom you are discussing and trying to look at this problem from their perspective. So this is one aspect of it. And so this one is really a derivative, but it's not that we have straightly taken the Kadambari's thing and put it here. But in a sense, this is the kind of concept that was there in the earlier thing. And if you go, you have the Takshashila and other kinds of universities which are there, which also had similar type of education. But what is important is they are not now coming back to the new area of education. And so that is one aspect of it. And this particular experiment that is going on here with respect to the use of Vedic systems along with the regular day classes is, as already mentioned, that it has already shown results. It is remarkable that all the students have been employed, and it's not just employment of the student. This uses a large spectrum of knowledge that they amass with this kind of a thing. So that is the ability that one is looking for in the future for the youngsters. So that is exactly what this will be done. I don't want to further stretch this, there's lack of time. But all I want to say is one more item on the national education policy. I thought I should bring it to your kind notice. We spend a lot of time discussing about what should be the language policy. The language policy, as you know, is not the way in which we often read what the policy is. It's much more than, if you really look at the 490 pages of the national education policy, you will see 2 to 3 language has to be taught early. Why many languages have been learned by the child. It is all based on the fact that you have a developmental trajectory for the brain. The brain's developmental trajectory reaches something like 85 to 86% of this capacity by the time the child reaches 8 years or 9 years. And during that period, you want to make sure that the ability to learn, assimilate, and understand and take it further is the maximum for the child. And language is no exception other than, of course, literacy and numeracy. Now, the point is, the language at that particular point, you are stimulating certain sections of the brain. And that stimulation, if you do it at the right age, from the second or third year of the child to up to 80 years, then that area gets completely matured in terms of growth and the ability to, and even the size of the tissues there, one can see clear growth. So this scientific basis essentially tells us, if you are interested in teaching languages to the child, please do it sufficiently early in life, which essentially means early part of the school education. And make sure that you teach it 3 or 4 languages are no difficulty, so far as teaching the child is concerned. Choose your languages and teach it. This is one aspect. Second aspect is, child is most tuned to what it hears and try to understand even as soon as it is born. Therefore, home language and subsequently mother tongue becomes very much accustomed to. So if you teach it in that language, that becomes very much a powerful means for further ability to learn languages. So that's why mother tongue we have said, local languages we have said, and also the local language, the language of the particular region, we have said that. Of course, keeping in mind the type of diversity even sometimes that occurs between the child, student and the teacher. We have kept those things in mind. So that is the second part of it. And thirdly, the language system in India, we are losing quite fast. India is very rich in languages. Of course, we have the classical languages like Sanskrit and Persian and many others, but we have also the 18 natural languages, so the Scheduled 8. And then we have got, so the fact is, extremely rich in languages. And if you really look at Sanskrit, that one language has got enough material which is more than total of Latin and Greek to put together, that you should know. That is the level of the language, the power of language. You don't want to lose this heritage, because Sanskrit has many other things. People say the first digital concept came out of Sanskrit and things like that. Notwithstanding all that, it's an extremely rich way of communication. Many of the other languages in this country, Sanskrit is a mother of that kind of a language, those languages. And it's extremely important that we do studies, we do research, and we also enrich our culture and communications. Many of these are possible only through good learning of languages. And that's another reason why. So 3 or 4 areas which are not the one that is really discussed in public, but for other reasons. And I wanted to say this to this erudite audience only because of the fact I think language cannot be neglected. Language has to be learned early in the childhood. Try to teach the child as many languages as possible, early part of the childhood, and make sure that the child is able to pick up subsequently languages, not only Indian languages, Chinese language, Japanese language, languages of Europe. You can pick up any of them, but that ability is considerably enhanced because of the investment you make on the language learning in the early part of your studies in the school, say up to 8 or 10 years. So with this kind of 3 points that I wanted to make, I would like to once again thank Dr. Shankar for this wonderful opportunity that I got. If nothing else, I can at least see him. We are not met together after the COVID. We were in touch with each other. So it's very nice. He is very genuinely devoted to the Kanchi. And many of us have also become a kind of a devotees, thanks to our anxiety to emulate him. And I am sure all of you are so. So thank you very much. And I wish your vision the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You went down your memory lane of school days, and we thank you for sharing it with us. Your mention on the key features of the National Education Policy, integration and holisticity, has given us the prelude of the wholeness of this policy, which, when fully implemented, will be a revolution in the education system. Your mention on the stimulation of the brain of a child at a young age is a powerful message to the teachers here, and a powerful message to our students. We do studies, we do research, yet be rooted to our culture. Thank you, sir, for being an inspiration to all of us here. His Excellency Thiru R.N. Ravi joined the Indian Police Service in 1976 and was allotted to the Kerala cadre. After over a decade of service in Kerala and Pan-India, he led several anti-corruption crusades in the Central Bureau of Investigation. He also specialized in the dynamics of human migration in South Asia and worked extensively on the political sociology of border population. He has played crucial roles in conflict resolutions in areas affected with ethnic insurgencies and brought several armed rebel groups into peace. He was the architect of India's international cooperation in counterterrorism and intelligence sharing. He was the chairman of Joint Intelligence Committee in the Prime Minister's office, where he coordinated and guided the agencies to meet the security needs of the country. His presence today is an inspiration to many young aspirants here. We are honored and humbled by your presence, sir. I now request you to address the gathering.
My most respectful pranam to Jagat Guru Sankaracharya, Pujya Sri Shankar Vijayendra Saraswati Swamigal, Dr. V. Shankar is the spirit and the driving force behind all that we are seeing here and beyond in all parts of the country under the aegis of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Trust. Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, one of the greatest scientists of the age and the architect of our national education policy, which is being talked about every day. Distinguished invitees, functionaries of Kanchi Komakoti Peetam, teachers, students of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Vidya Mandir, Gracious ladies and gentlemen, namaskaram to all of you. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Sankar for giving me this opportunity to visit this place. It's beautiful, it's vibrant, and honestly, I feel overwhelmed by the fact that here, in the midst of all this chaos that we see, we have a center where our Vedic studies as well as the modern studies are being done in an integral fashion. Here I feel I am in our country, Bharat. You know, India is not an appropriate description of this country. The term India, it's soulless. It's a term, it's a name given by others. Before the advent of the foreigners, people of this land, they didn't call it India. It was Bharat Varsha. And this Bharat Varsha is not the creation of any king, any ruler. It was built by our rishis, our sages, since the time of Rig Veda, when our rishis got the revelation of the fundamental knowledge of creation. That is what is called Rita Siddhant. There is one creator and there is unity of creation. Entire creation, despite its mind-boggling diversities, are all integrally connected and it's permeated by that creator. So the unity, one creator and oneness of creation. This is a very pithy revelation. And that is where our rishis started praying for the well-being of all the creatures. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhave. Sarve bhavantu, it's not just humans. All beings, let all beings be happy. Let all beings be free of disease. Let everyone see goodness in each other. Now with this awareness, this light, it has spread through the length and breadth of this land. North to south, what our Vishnu Puran says, Uttaram yat samudrasya, himadrasya eva dakshinam, varsham tad bharatam nama bharati yatra santati. North of ocean and south of Himalayas is the land called Bharat. Bharat because it is an enlightened land. Bha is a Sanskrit word, root for light. The one land which is enwrapped in this light, this one creator and oneness of creation, all are part of that. Whether we are moving or non-moving, vanaspati or other creation. Its children are Bharati. So this is Bharat. Even Bhagavad Gita, the book, the holy book given to me by Dr. Sankar, I am thankful to him. You know, as a primary student, when I was a class 5 student, my father made me memorize all the 700 slokas of Gita. So without understanding the meaning of it, I memorized it. Later on, I started getting the meaning, and still I am searching the meaning. Every time I feel a new revelation, a new light. And there also it says in the 18th chapter, Avibhakto vidakteshu, tad jnano vidhi sattvikam. One who sees the indivisible in the divided. That is the true knowledge. Again, the same unity of creation. And that is how this country, this Bharatvarsh was created. It is not many people that try to understand and ask question, who was the king who ruled the entire country? No. This country was not built by any king, was not built by any ruler, it was built by our rishis. And that is the message, the lesson, since the Vedas, Vedic period, it started and engulfed the entire region. Go anywhere, Kanyakumari to Kashmir to Kamrup to Kutch. It is there in our everyday rites and rituals. Bharatvarsh lives in us in our all the rites and rituals. Every occasion, auspicious occasion that we do, from the birth to death to building a house to marriage, every time when we worship the five elements, Panchbhuta, the two of them which was territorial, earth and water, Bharatvarsh come in that. When we worship the water, it is Ganga, right from Kaveri to Sindhu. Ganga cha Yamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jale Yasmin Sannidhim Kuru. This is Bharatvarsh. Every drop of water concludes all. When we praise the Bhumi, the place, this place is not in isolation, it's a part of Bharatvarsh. Again there, it comes Bharatvarsh. So this Bharatvarsh, this has been kept, built by the rishis and kept by the rishis. And in that tradition, our Adi Shankaracharya and subsequent Shankaracharya came and built this. Imagine, mind-boggling, from north to south. Imagine where Kedar, Badri, all this Kashmir, so remote areas. Today, for people with all these means of communication, people find it difficult, but our rishis traveled and built this country. Unfortunately, this foreign invasions and colonization, it played havoc with our life. People often say this knowledge is a spiritual knowledge. After all, what is you need to have the modern knowledge? Yes. One needs to go back. At the time when the British began colonization of this country, our economy was the largest economy in the world. In the decades of 1750, the decade when the British began colonization, industrial production of India and China together were 73%, and India was 40% of that. America and Europe nowhere existed. In terms of education, in terms of industry, in terms of agriculture, we were a glorious country. Coming of the Europeans and colonization, they systematically destroyed. They destroyed the education system. They waged a three-pronged battle to destroy India and India's cultural and spirituality. Ideological, theological, and military. On all the three fronts, militarily they came and they had the gunpowder, and they came and physically controlled. Took over the lands of all the assets which sustained the community institutions, like temples and institutions related with the temples. Ideologically, they created false history of India. In fact, when the British began colonizing this country, at the time the dilemma that they had was, how should they run the colony? And when at the time Lord Clive, who first took over Bengal from Sirajuddaula, when he wrote to the company headquarters, the East India Company headquarters, saying that, look, they were a trading company, they didn't know how to administer. Governing a territory was not their job, it was not their, they didn't know it. And so they wanted their governance to be taken over by the British government. And then the British government, craftily, they adopted a policy. In fact, these are all matter of record. Adam Ferguson, the professor of theology and advisor to the British government on colonial affairs, he was a professor in Edinburgh University. He gave a detailed advice that this country, India, your British colonial experiment of North America, what they did, where they killed the locals, indigenous people, and populated them transported the population. This was not possible to replicate in India because India was highly evolved in all aspects of evolution. It was not possible to annihilate the population. It was not possible to replicate the experiment that they had in North America. And so the decision was that they must transfer as much wealth as possible, as speedily as possible from India to UK. And for that, their main job was how to make the empire durable as long as possible. And so they thought, you must first kill the education system. You must instill a sense of inferiority among the people who were the most advanced in the world. And one by one, this began. And one of the first things that they did, they wrote a fabricated history of India, written by James Mill, father of John Stuart Mill. Those of students, those who study political science have heard his name, John Stuart Mill. His father was James Mill. He was commissioned, this man did not visit India, but he was commissioned by the company to write a concocted history of India in a way that makes everything in India ugly and inferior. He wrote 5 volumes of history of British India. And those books became the textbook for all the British officials, those who came to administer India. They had to pass tests. So they read everything bad about India. Not bad about, but they made everything projected as bad. It's a highly scurrilous work. It's a very derogatory work. And those books were prescribed later in our text, in India's colleges and universities. Our students started learning. They killed the education system. They killed the industry. They killed. Theological battle, because they said this India's spirituality is so evolved, it won't let you continue for long. So they, through an act of parliament, India Charter Act 1813, it is an act of British Parliament. Under this act, they said, religious and moral redemption of India is the mandate of the British government. That is, they must spread the gospel. Indians, because those who did not have the gospel, they were in dark ages. So they must spread the gospel and kill the indigenous spirituality. Karl Marx at those days, he was in New York. He was commissioned by the company. Usually it is considered that Marx was against imperialism. He might have been, but he was a great supporter of the British imperialism in India. In 1852, he wrote a number of articles, essays in New York Daily Tribune in August 1852. There, one of the first things he said, the British Empire has 2 duties, 2 responsibilities in India. Number 1, they must totally annihilate the India's social order. They must totally annihilate the India's social order, because a society that worships cows and monkeys has no business to survive. That was his logic. Because Indians, they worship cows and worship Lord Hanuman. So he says, no, it must be annihilated. And then lay the foundation of Western material civilization. Because he believed that everything was matter. Humans were removing hydrocarbons. So it was a mix of Marxist intellectual backup fabricated British intellectuals and scholarship, the theological forces, and of course the British military might. So it was a threefold battle that kept destroying India's economy, agriculture, and most importantly, education system and its cultural and spirituality. Thanks to institutions like Kanchi Peetam and Parampara of Jagat Guru Shankaracharya that we have retained this. With all these adversities, with all these challenges, the fact that we have our Sanatana Adhyatma, Sanatana Dharma is a miracle. It shows the inherent power of its knowledge, the Veda, and the institutions which carried it. Unfortunately, after the British left, we continued with the colonial education policy. British policy was to create people who are intellectually indoctrinated to be subordinate to the inferior to the British European and fit for doing their job and employment. A servant of the company, a servant of the empire, and subsequently post-British employees and servant of the government. That is the system of education that they had created and which continued even after the British left. We didn't change it. Unfortunately, people who ruled this country after the British left, they looked upon this country from the angle of India, from the eyes of India, not through the eyes of Bharatvarsha. And fortunately today, in the last about 8 years, the country is doing the course correction. Country is looking at itself as Bharat, country as Bharatvarsha. And what is Bharatvarsha? It is a parivar, it is a kutumbam. This reason, look at this country with so much of diversities. Diversities of languages, diversities of regions, diversity of cuisine, and diversity of apparent culture. But underlying all these diversities, there is one strong binding force. That binding force is our Sanatan Sanskriti and Sanatan Adhyatma. Go to any part of the country. And I had the fortune of moving in the tribal areas of the northeastern part. People call them tribals, the backward people, those who no connect with civilizations. Bordering Tibet, you have tribes, Idu-Mishmi. They believe that Rukmini was their daughter. Lord Krishna married her. There are folk tales, folklores among that tribe. You go to the Karbis, Divasas, all the tribes, they have their own Ramayana, they have a story of Sri Rama. It is these heroes, these icons, their stories, their life lessons that bound this country together. Kanchi, in about 5th century, a Pallava prince from Kanchi goes to Nalanda. Nalanda was a vibrant center of education. People call it a Buddhist center of education. That's not the correct. Because at the time, Buddhism was an interpretation of our Sanatana Dharma. It was a way of looking at it. It was another way because of a lot of because of Jagyas, there used to be a lot of killing of creatures. It was against that. That is how the Jain and Buddha Sampradaya came. So Nagarjuna, the greatest of all Acharya of Nalanda, himself was a Hindu, was a Sanatan Dharmi. Vasubandhu, who came from Gandhar, which is those days Gandhar, today's Peshawar, he came to that place, Nalanda, to study. Buddhism was a philosophy, a way of interpretation. It was during those days that the Pallava prince came to Nalanda. He studied, became an Acharya, became Bodhi Dharma. He came back and through Shi route he went to China, and he was the one who introduced Buddhism in China. It went from Kanchi. I read a story of Mahapurush Shankar Dev of Assam 700 years ago, in the 15th century. At the age of 30, he came to this land. He came to Rameshwaram, he came to Kanchi. He studied. From here he went to Kashi. He studied there for a longer period, went back to Kamrup. And the first poem that he composed was Dhanya Dhanya Bharat Bhumi. It was a seamless. There were multiple kings, there were multiple rulers, but people were one. There was no restriction, there was no barrier in the movement of people from one end to the other for education, for pilgrimage, for trade, or even for settling down. People were one. So India has, this Bharat cannot be understood in terms of India. This was our land, this was Bharat. Now when the present Prime Minister says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, it is Sanatan Adhyatma. This is one Kutumbam, one Parivar. It is not a political slogan. Many people who are still tuned to the old way of politics and all, they find it difficult to understand. They have a difficulty in understanding what this person is talking about. What he is talking about is nothing new. It is what Bharatvarsh has been all about. So this rebuilding of Bharat, this resurgence of Bharat, multidimensional resurgence of Bharat is happening, and we can feel it. And in this, a very significant, and I suppose the most significant role is that of our national education policy, architect of which is Dr. Kasturi Rangan. Dr. Shankar mentioned about education combining modernity and tradition. In our ancient system, it was there. Today, when they talk about, as if you were talking some magical thing, something, you are trying to bring the two things which are incompatible. Tradition in our ancient system, in our ancient literature, since then, all through till the colonization, tradition has never been a resistance to change. Tradition has been dynamic, it has changed from time to time. And it has been changed by our rishis, our sages, our scholars. And the philosophy of our education used to be Adrata Sakalam Sastram Prishtata Sasradhanu. You are ahead in all the sastras, all the knowledge, and still you are carrying Prishtata Sasradhanu. Strong. We have to build this country. So the integral education, where our Sanatan Gyan Parampara is introduced, is fused with the modern technology. It is because, since our ancient time, since the time of Vedas, we never believed in the sovereignty of intellect. Adi Bhautik Buddhi was always considered as a limited way, because unless it is mixed with Adhyatma, it doesn't become complete. The fusion of Adhyatma and Adi Bhautik Buddhi is what our rishis, our scriptures prescribed, they recommended, and that is what has been going on all through till the colonization happened and we lost tradition. Now this awareness, unfortunately, we have lost it. Now we are regaining it, and here institution like this is playing a very great role. When we see the young students of Vedic Pathsala who are being taught and trained into the Vedic knowledge as they grow, equipped with this and then equipped with the modern technology, modern science, they will be the ideal citizen of Bharat. This is what we need. And now that we have entered the Amrit Kal. This is the 75th year of, 75 years of our Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And when we are celebrating the 75 years of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, I would like to urge that while we are celebrating the people who fought the British colonials, those who their military power, those who fought them, those who rebelled against them, we are remembering them, we are commemorating them, and we must. But those who preserved against this mighty onslaught of the British, our spiritual and cultural heritage, they are no less a Swatantrata Senani or Swatantrata Veer. And we need to celebrate them and their contribution. All these people have ensured that Bharat is kept alive. Howsoever weak it might be during the colonial period, it must be alive. Its heart must be beating, and mind must be active in whatsoever small number it may be, but they have retained it. So they are also, in the 75 years of our Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we need to celebrate all our rishis, all our scholars, those who have kept the tradition alive during the colonial period. And our Mahaswami, he was here for during the most critical time when the British were at full throttle trying to destroy. It was at that time. Imagine how difficult it must have been for him. But he retained, he kept it alive with all the adversities. We must remember, we must be grateful, we must pay homage to them. Now we have entered the Amrit Kal of 25 years. In this next 25 years, we have to build this nation as a world leader. We have a goal, we have a task. Now the country is moving forward with a newfound confidence never before. All inclusive, no citizen is left out. All inclusive Bharat has to grow as the world leader. And we have shown the leadership in the recent years. When the pandemic hit the world, the country which helped the most of the humanity was this Bharat. Thanks to our scientists who discovered, who invented the vaccine, we shared the vaccine with over 150 people of 150 countries of the world. When the rich countries, when they discovered their vaccine, they started working out the prices, how to make maximum money out of it. Whereas Bharat gave those vaccines free of cost to more than 150 countries. This is our Sanatana Adhyatma, this is our Sanatana Dharma. When another global crisis, that is the climate crisis, which the world is facing, we took the initiative under the leadership of Prime Minister when we said, okay, we must move from carbon energy to clean energy. India is a poor country, resource poor. It was a very difficult task because for any growth, there. Sun God is there to give us so much of energy. We need to use that. We don't need any other energy. And when the countries of the world have joined this. When Prime Minister set the target that by 2025 India will have 100 gigawatts, it was just not possible. And we have achieved it in September 2021, way ahead of our time. And now the next 2030, we will have 500 gigawatt of clean energy. This is to save the climate, because for us, Earth is not just a resource. Earth is our mother. Prithvi is mother. And you cannot treat your mother as a resource. This is what Abrahamic religion did. Anthropocentric view of life. Man is at the creation of the universe, and rest everything is for the pleasure of man. No. Here in our Sanatana Adhyatma or Sanatana Dharma, we are an integral element of the entire creation. We have no better claim. And so the Mother Earth has to be preserved, has to be respected. So when we talk about climate preservation, when we talk about clean energy, it is not just an existential imperative, it is, but it is also out of our inherent belief that Earth is our mother and we must protect, we must respect it. So this now in the next 25 years we have a target to achieve, and I'm sure we will achieve it. There is no doubt about it. The country has woken up, is moving forward. It is unstoppable. It is unstoppable because our youth, their energy, we are unleashing their energy. We are just trying to harness that energy. In this journey, this institution is playing a great role. And I wish Dr. Sankar and his entire team all the best. All the very best, with the blessings of Mahaswami wherever he is and the present Jagat Guru. I'm sure this country will rise to its destiny. Friends, I'm delighted truly to be here, to be with you. It is a memorable day and memorable moment for me. Thank you very much. Nandi.
Thank you, sir. The power of your speech. Standing ovation of few of them. You took us through the timeline of the country and enlightened us with its richness. In Bharat, a land built by our rishis, and one of us here feel privileged to be in this punya. How proud we are to hear from you that we stood up high in this testing time, and gurus played a key role in this. Inspired by the philosophy of His Holiness Sri Chandrasekhara Saraswati Swamigal, the Vidya Mandir has a single-minded education goal: to prepare its students to stand head and shoulder above the rest, ingraining in them high moral values through Vedic education combined with modern thinking and education, to provide sound physical training and enable them to develop an ability to nurture creativity. Leading the TT team now this film is our beloved principal, Srimati Hemalata. I now request ma'am to propose the vote of thanks. Respected dignitaries, esteemed guests, parents, and my dear students. My humble pranams to Almighty and all our great gurus. It is my proud privilege to propose word of thanks for the most prestigious event, Kanchi Kosh inauguration ceremony. On behalf of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Vidya Mandir, I express my sincere gratitude to Thiru R. Ravi, Honorable Garner, for his kind presence and very inspiring speech. Thank you so much, sir.
especially the incredible features and qualities of our country. And also, his sir has added, Earth is not a source, it's our mother. Something amazing, sir. Thank you so much. Your thoughts have truly inspired us. Now it's time to thank the First Lady of the State, Madam Srimati Lakshmi Ravi. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. It adds value to this program. It's a great honor for all of us at Vidya Mandir to have Dr. Bhatma Vibhushan, Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, sir, architect of NEP, former chairman of ISRO, former chairman of National Education Policy Committee, and chairman of National Steering Committee for National Curriculum Framework. Thank you so much, sir, for your mind-blowing speech, especially on the part of NEP. Integrity and honesty added value to this NEP for forthcoming years. How are we going to implement? And also information on incredible Sanskrit and how to learn multiple languages and why to learn multiple languages also. Thank you so much, sir. In fact, it was a spellbound session for all the spectators of this event. Thank you so much once again, sir. முயற்சி திருவனையாக்கும் முயற்சின்மை இன்மை புகுத்துவிடும். The couplets of திருக்குறள். முயற்சி இல்லாமல் எதுவும் இல்லை, முயற்சிதான் சிறப்பான செயல்பாடுக்கு காரணமாக அமையும். For this திருக்குறள், the most suitable personality is our respected chairman, sir, Dr. V. Shankar. Thank you so much, sir, for your constant support and guidance. I would like to mention here, there are 8 planets, 7 wonders, 6 senses, 5 oceans, 4 options, 3 seasons, eyes are 2, only 1 Kanchi Kosh. It's all because of our respected chairman, sir, Dr. V. Shankar. I'm really thanking you, sir, for your steward leadership and stayed the Kanchi Kosh permanent exhibition for 2,500 years. Glorious part of Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam. Thank you so much, sir. Without your guidance, we would not be here today. And sir added in his inaugural speech, Kanchi Kosh like exhibitions, not only exhibitions, but also great learning platform for young generations. Definitely, sir, we will take all the learnings from these exhibitions. We will make our children of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Vidya Mandir not only ambassadors for our school, but also ambassador of our country. On behalf of our SKM SVM family, I would like to express my deep appreciation to all the Board of Trustees and members of Sri Kanchi Mahaswami Trust for their constant support for the successful completion of the event. A special thanks to Veda Vidyatris and students of Vidya Mandir for their keen listening, yes children, for your keen listening and appreciable participation. A wide round of applause and thanks to all the participants who made the event a memorable one. And big thanks to the project partners who made the splendid and unique Kanchi Kosh. And I also want to thank the people who helped us behind the scene to execute this event, our technical arrangement team, the stage setting and the lighting team, and the housekeeping staff. And a special thanks to all the officials who helped us greatly to organize the program in most successful way. And special and big thanks to friends from media and electronic media. Thank you so much for your presence here. Finally, may I commend all the teaching and non-teaching staff of Vidya Mandir family who worked so hard, deserve special praise. Thank you so much, all of you. This Applause gives us energy. Hope that my dear children will take all the inputs of the dignitaries, and in coming days we will see your performance with all these inputs. Thank you once again.
Like the appearance of silver in mother of pearl, the world seems real until the self, the underlying reality, is realized. Let the bending blessings of our gurus enable us to attain the absolute knowledge of life along with self-realization. I now request the dignitaries on dais and the audience to rise up for the national anthem.
Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravid, Uttal, Himachal, Yamuna, Ganga, Chala, Chala, Jai